What he's actually saying is one of the outcomes of the JCPOA was to unfreeze some of the Iranian assets for stolen oil or for sold oil. Iran sold oil to some countries. Joe Biden had done something similar as well, which is to unfreeze some of the stolen Iranian assets for oil that was sold to other countries.
The UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain, they've been great, and we will not let them get hurt or fail in any way, shape, or form. Many Americans have been concerned to see the recent rise in gasoline prices here at home. This short-term increase has been entirely the result of the Iranian regime launching deranged terror attacks against commercial oil tankers in neighboring countries that have nothing to do with the conflict. This is yet more proof that Iran can never be trusted with nuclear weapons. They will use them, and they will use them quickly. It would lead to decades of extortion, economic pain, and instability worse than we can ever imagine. The United States has never been better prepared economically to confront this threat. You all know that. We built the strongest economy in history. We're going through it right now, the strongest in history. In 1 year, we've taken a dead and crippled country. I hate to say that, but we were a dead and crippled country.
I don't think you hate saying America was crippled under Joe Brandon or under Obama. I mean, that's kind of what you did twice. It's your number one thing that you say. Also, the economy is the hottest from the standpoint of heat. I mean, totally. Everyone's feeling it. Everyone's feeling how great it is.
After the last administration, and made it the hottest country anywhere in the world by far, with no inflation, record-setting investments coming into the United States, over $18 trillion, and the highest stock market ever, with 53 all-time record highs in just 1 year. It all positioned us to get rid of a cancer that has long simmered. It's known as the nuclear Iran, and they didn't know what was coming. They've never imagined it. Remember, because of our Drill Baby Drill program, America has plenty of gas. We have so much gas. Under my leadership, we are #1 producer of oil and gas on the planet, without even discussing the millions of barrels that we're getting from Venezuela. Because of the Trump administration's policies, we produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Think of that, Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. And that number will soon be substantially higher than that. There's no country like us anywhere in the world, and we're in great shape for the future. The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it. We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. They are decimated, both militarily and economically and in every other way. And the countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on. So to those countries that can't get fuel, many of which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. #1, buy oil from the United States of America.
This is the most important part. As I've explained to you before, taking Venezuela for its oil was seemingly a silly thing, right? Because America's an oil exporter, and in order to maintain price stability, sitting on top of the second or the largest natural oil reserves would have meant that the price of a barrel would go down if America actually supplied too much oil, right? If they refined too much oil, the price of a barrel will go beneath $60 a barrel, and therefore a lot of these like smaller fracking companies in the United States of America, which make up the backbone of the American industry, the American extraction industry, would not have been able to sell at a profit, and they would have to close up shop. It wasn't just to screw Cuba. And at the time I said, no one will ever, no capitalist has ever said, oh, free oil. I hate that. Right. Even though The Economist was writing about it and all these other, analysts, all these commodities traders were saying, this seems really stupid. This is not beneficial. This is not for oil. Even though Donald Trump was like, no, this is for oil. Well, now we know. Right? He's basically telling Europe that he fucked over to purchase oil and gas from the United States of America, purchase more oil and gas from the United States of America. All of the other allies around the world that rely on the Strait of Hormuz for their energy needs should now get it from the United States of America instead. Price stability will come from U.S. overproducing oil now in order to make up for the lack of supply while demands rise. I don't think we have the logistical capabilities of rerouting to make up for 20% of the entire planet's needs. I don't think we have the refinement capabilities of building up the oil supply. So I don't know how we're going to achieve this goal, but basically it feels like that's what Donald Trump is spelling out here. Something that I suspected as like the only reasonable, only logical long-term goal here is the destruction of the GCC, diminishing GCC's capabilities of providing energy for the rest of the world, just destroying it altogether, and then making America one of the only countries on the planet that has the capabilities of supplying much needed oil to the rest of the world. Having said that, however, the runway for such a significant change would probably take up years and a shit ton of investment. I don't know if we have that capability at all. Lemon AI literally said that yesterday, and you said it was crazy and that they couldn't refine it. Stole my whole flow word for word, bar for bar. When I said that yesterday, you said I was crazy. Chatter, I don't know if you recall this conversation, but you literally said, I said that initially. Why am I going back on it? Okay, that was my assessment initially. I'm still telling you that just because it's a fucking goal that the administration has doesn't mean that they're capable of achieving said goal. Is it hard for you to comprehend? The Gulf is profoundly important for maintaining the petrodollar. Okay, it's kind of like this. If you say so, big dog. Hi, chat. Brother, your fucking chat logs are right here. Your chat logs are right here. We had this conversation yesterday. Jesus Christ. It's kind of like Liberation Day, okay? As a matter of fact, it's exactly like Liberation Day. There's a logical goal for why Donald Trump wants to engage in trade protectionism. He wants to build up the American manufacturing base. This is a national security problem for America if America wants to engage in a more aggressive posture against China. Okay? That's the goal. That's the stated objective of Liberation Day, to force the rest of the world, to force all of our trading partners to decouple from China, the manufacturing base of the entire planet. Okay? The problem, however, is that just because you have a goal doesn't mean you have the capabilities of reaching said goal. This problem is the exact same. Okay? The goal is to decouple from China in terms of trade, and to force all of our other partners to decouple from China, and then rebuild the American industrial base. But we don't have the capacity to have an industrial base at all. We don't have the initiative. We don't have the capacity. We don't have a command economy. We don't have any central planning beyond subsidies that we offer. So just because he sets a target for himself doesn't mean he's going to achieve it. And he hasn't been able to achieve that at all. Okay? And the same thing is happening here. He might want to gain leverage over China, as China still controls the refinement of all of the rare earth minerals that are necessary for our defense production, necessary for all production, as a matter of fact. All the components that we still use in our industrial output is still at some point All the rare earth minerals that are refined are still coming from China. They have a complete monopoly over it. And we want to have some kind of leverage against China, because if China were to implement export controls, if let's say we went to war with China and China said, all right, we're adding export controls to all of our rare earth minerals, the magnets that you need to build your bombs, all of a sudden you can't build bombs. What are you going to do? How are you going to fight China with no bombs? We've already depleted our munitions, right? So in a situation like that, America has to have some kind of leverage against China to ensure that China doesn't do that. And that leverage would be oil. But right now, China has developed its own relations with the Gulf states. China has its own direct relations with the Gulf states. So the American bargain here, the American gamble here is maybe to think, all right, we just destroy the Gulf in its entirety. We reduce their capabilities, and we shut off the oil and gas faucet in the Gulf by way of Israel, so that we are the sole providers of oil and gas to the rest of the world. Okay? The problem is we run into the same issue. Do we have the capabilities to make up for the lack of supply? Especially in the short term, without imminent global collapse? I don't think so. I don't think we do. That's my argument. Just because they have an agenda, just because they have a goal, doesn't mean they have the capabilities of achieving said goal. Do you understand? I've been trying to explain this for the past month.
We have plenty. We have so much. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it with us, as we asked. Go to the strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done, so it should be easy. And in any event, when this conflict is over, the strait will open up naturally. It'll just open up naturally. They're going to want to be able to sell oil because that's all they have to try and rebuild. It will resume the flowing, and the gas prices will rapidly come back down. Stock prices will rapidly go back up. They haven't come down very much, frankly. They came down a little bit, but they've had some very good days over the last couple of days. We've done actually much better than I thought, but we had to take that little journey to Iran to get rid of this horrible threat. With our historic tax cuts, where people are just now talking about receiving larger refunds than they ever thought possible. They are getting so much more money than they thought. That's from the great big beautiful bill. Our economy is strong and improving by the day, and it will soon be roaring back like never before. It will top the levels that it was a month ago. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are.
Yeah, there's this other problem here as well, because countries no longer have to think about whether or not they create energy independence for themselves by way of renewables, which are, once again, produced almost entirely the systems necessary, solar panels and all of the other components necessary to build a robust energy grid that focuses on renewable energy come from China, right? So a big point of contention at Davos and all these other summits that were, that were happening in the build up to Trump taking Venezuela and then waging war against Iran. A big point of contention from the American side always was constantly telling Europe, don't move towards green energy. Do not move towards green energy. You will not be able to develop energy dominance that way. You're just going to increase your reliance on China this way. It's very stupid, right? That only works if there's stability. That only works if there's no disruptions in the oil and gas side of things. If there's no disruption in the delivery of oil and gas to Europe and to the Asian markets. Now Donald Trump has basically presented the argument that there is no stability, or they will be entirely reliant on the United States of America providing oil and gas. Europe already experienced a piece of that with the Russia war against Ukraine, where they gained independence from their reliance on Russian gas, Russian oil, and they celebrated that decision, even though that decision led to much more expensive energy prices, a crisis that was boiling up. And now it's gotten significantly worse. So Donald Trump has basically proven that if countries want to have energy independence, they have to move away from their reliance on fossil fuels. True energy sovereignty comes from renewables. So now, competent governments are probably going to go to China and demand more help. They're going to purchase more solar panels. They're going to try to create a robust renewable energy grid for themselves. Many countries were already moving in that direction, right? So ironically enough, this still takes away from the power that America has around the world because petroleum is traded on the dollar. This undermines, like the more Donald Trump undermines the petrodollar, the more Donald Trump undermines American hegemony. The other side of the story, of course, is that American hegemony and the confidence that people have in American stability is propped up by the might of the American military. And Donald Trump is destroying that notion as well. So it's a spectacular failure in every way that you can see. Every aspect that has every aspect of this design, this new world order post World War II, and certainly post the end of the Cold War, is currently falling apart. Donald Trump is most responsible for the acceleration of American demise here, and I mean he's doing this like he is the this is the reason why we say he's J.D. Pandon, right? He is the brave anti-imperialist voice.
Fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military.
Fake as fuck. Hasan Abi, do you enjoy being fake as fuck? Independent media fucking joke. Is it truly only independent media if you're dick eating the president? Is that how you can be a true independent media voice? Is that what it is? I mean, I'm not just getting yelled at by Republicans. I'm getting yelled at by Democrats as well on a daily fucking basis. Even a dumb guy such as yourself could probably understand that you know, that means that I'm definitely independent from at least the duopoly.
Military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime, discussions are ongoing. Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred because of all of their original leaders' death. They're all dead. The new group is less radical and much more reasonable. Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously.
Insane. This is the quote-unquote supposed leader of the free world openly saying in a presidential address to the nation that he is going to commit acts of terrorism. He has already committed acts of terrorism, and he's going to do more of it. That's what he's saying to people, right? He's saying we're going to hit civilian targets. He's saying we're going to bomb this country back into the Stone Age. Peace president, right? No new wars, they said. It's unbelievable. What happened to liberating the Iranian people, by the way? You know? What happened to peace president? Peace president Donald Trump. What happened to I'm not dying for Israel? What happened to no new wars? It was all a lie, of course. And I said it was going to be a lie. Anyone could see it. Anyone with 3 working brain cells could see it from a mile away. If only we had a, serious opposition party that presented themselves as the actual anti-war party instead of saying Iran is our number one enemy, is our number one threat. Shouts out to Kamala Harris for saying that. And also simultaneously saying that I'm going to oversee the most lethal military anyone's ever seen. Shouts out to Kamala Harris for saying that too. So that Donald Trump could lie and present himself as this like peace president somehow and make a convincing case. Fantastic.
We have not hit their oil, even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival or rebuilding. But we could hit it, and it would be gone, and there's not a thing they could do about it. They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force. The nuclear sites that we obliterated with the B-2 bombers have been hit so hard that it would take months to get near the nuclear dust, and we have it under intense satellite surveillance and control. If we see them make a move, even a move for it, we'll hit them with missiles very hard again. We have all the cards, they have none. It's very important that we keep this conflict in perspective. American involvement in World War I lasted 1 year.
Yeah, this part's really funny. This is where he tries to say, like, this is technically not a war because it's short, right? Like, comparing your current military incursion, your current war to World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, fantastic. Anyway, yeah, he ends the speech basically by saying we have to do something about the Iran nuclear capabilities, and then saying that he's going to bomb Iran back into the Stone Age, which you get, and then openly says he's going to target civilian infrastructure, the energy grid, things of that nature, which they've started doing already. They blew up a. I mean, this is a war crime. They blew up a bridge. Trump posts video of the strike on Iran's biggest bridge and tells Iran to make a deal before it's too late. A highway bridge linking Iran's capital, Tehran, to the western city of Karaj was hit by airstrikes on Thursday. Fars News reported, adding that early indications suggest several people were injured. The biggest bridge in Iran comes tumbling down, never to be used again. Much more to follow. It is time for Iran to make a deal before it's too late. And there's nothing left of what still could become a great country. This is a war crime. That's it. That's what it is. And the reason why they're doing this is because this is the Gaza method, right? When you can't achieve your military objectives, your stated military objectives, and in Gaza, Israel didn't actually have a real stated military objective beyond ethnic cleansing. You just start hitting civilian targets. You just start murdering people. You just start slaughtering people, destroying all the civil society organizations. You destroy schools. You blow up the energy infrastructure. You make the land uninhabitable, right? That's what they're doing. It's a classic war crime, okay? It's precisely what's going on. You know that this war cannot be won, right? You can't achieve any of your objectives here. So now you're just indiscriminately targeting the civilian infrastructure across all of the major cities in Iran. This is the Israel method. It's the America method as well. And that's precisely what they're doing. And in the absence of an international organ of justice that can bring America to heel, in the absence of pressure coming from American allies and trading partners, in the absence of like reining America and Israel in, of course they're going to do this, right? Who's going to say no? Who's going to say you have to stop this? We've already seen what happens when no one abides by the rules of warfare, right? You end up looking like Israel, crying about cluster munitions being deployed on Israeli airspace when everyone knows that you've been using cluster munitions in Gaza and also in Lebanon, right? 8 people were killed in the process, by the way, and 95 were wounded in the attack on the B1 bridge in Karaj, according to the Iranian state media. And of course, our organs of propaganda are running defense for it. The New York Times reports that the bridge was struck in Iran was part of a planned military supply route for sustaining Iran's ballistic missile and attack drone force. That's fucking bullshit. Okay? That's complete bullshit. It's complete horseshit. U.S. forces struck the B-1 bridge in Iran on Thursday, eliminating a planned military supply route for sustaining Iran's ballistic missile and attack drone force, a U.S. military official said. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity to share operational details. Stenographers. The New York Times' running defense for it. Here is Sayed Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, who says striking civilian structures, including unfinished bridges, will not compel Iranians to surrender. It only conveys the defeat and moral collapse of an enemy in disarray. Every bridge and building will be built back stronger. What will never recover is the damage to America's standing. I mean, I don't know what to say about this other than we are posterizing our war crimes. We're telling the rest of the world that we are an uncontrollable, belligerent, rogue entity. There is a reason why people abide by the standards of war, right? You don't kill diplomats, for example. You don't shoot the messenger, right? It's a cliche. America had Abbas Araghchi on a strike list, on an assassination list that they took him off of. They ended up trying to assassinate a former diplomat, as a matter of fact. Israel's been doing this. Israel wages war like this all the time, and that's part of the reason why a lot of people have developed enmity towards Israel, because they're like, what the fuck are you doing? You only get away with this if you are the permanent domineering superpower, okay? It's ironic to do this right now when your status as the domineering superpower is maybe no longer the case, right? You're no longer the dominant superpower. You're no longer the hegemonic superpower, and you're still behaving like this. A country that did this was Nazi Germany. Israel's been behaving like Nazi Germany, and now America is increasingly behaving like Nazi Germany. One could even say America has behaved like Nazi Germany in the past as well. But something is different here. Because in the past, when America was doing this kind of thing to other countries in Afghanistan, in Iraq, right? Those countries did not have the capability of fighting back. Those countries did not have the capability of delivering incredible damage to the confidence that people had in the American force projection capabilities. Iran has been able to successfully achieve that, right? So for America to turn around and desperately try to create more collateral, try to assassinate as many civilians as possible, is only going to further solidify that they don't have that capability any longer. Eventually, this is going to have to come to an end. The rest of the world is going to inevitably say, all right, enough is enough. You have to pack this up. When they realize that America does not have that capability any longer, when it's impossible to ignore, eventually the world has to bring us to heel. The U.S. has always done this shit, be real. Not to this degree, and not against an enemy that is capable of disrupting the rest of the world's oil supply. The amount of control that America had during shock and awe and in the aftermath of shock and awe in Iraq is nothing like what's going on right now. Okay? All of the destruction in Iraq and all of the instability born out of the American invasion of Iraq was directly a consequence of America's lack of interest in keeping Iraq a stable institution. They only protected, the only ministry that America actually protected was the Ministry of Energy, okay? Because they had one singular goal in mind. That was to protect the assets. That was to take over the assets and control the extraction industries of Iraq. They're not doing that right now. They're blowing up oil refineries. Israel already blew up oil refineries, right? Like this is totally new from that perspective. And not only are they doing all of this, like not only are they committed to just like doing terrorism for the sake of terror, which is somewhat new. There's not like any sort of discernible strategic military objective here other than just killing people. But yeah, it's very Israel style. IRGC bridge, IRGC hospital, IRGC guy who fills out a spreadsheet to order more water jugs, IRGC building inspector, IRGC park, IRGC girls school, IRGC air conditioning efficiency study, IRGC Indian guy running a merchant ship cafeteria. This is the same shit that Israel did with Hamas. Everything is Hamas. Everything is Hamas. Everything is Hamas. Oh, that mosque? It's Hamas. Oh, that school that we blew up? It's Hamas. Those little schoolgirls? Also Hamas. They had a copy of Mein Kampf that we found, right? Like they did that. This is what Israel did. And this is what America's doing right now. It's not going to work. A U.S. official tells me that the bridge was attacked because it was used by Iranian armed forces to try and secretly move missile and missile parts from Tehran to launch sites in western Iran. Yeah, I saw Trump's strategy for the midterms. We're going to talk about that in a second. Galabaf wrote this. He says, listen up. Back when I was 18 years old, I grabbed my rifle and ran straight into the fight to defend the soil of my beloved, unbreakable Iran, the only home I ever knew. My own brother Hasan, he laid it all on the line in that same fight for our homeland. He never came home. To this day, I still ache to wrap my arms around him one more time. That kind of pain never leaves a man. And he wasn't the only one. I lost brothers who weren't blood, but were family just the same. Men who fought like lions and became part of me forever. But that's what we do. We give everything we've got for the land we love. We poured out our youth, our blood, and every tomorrow we had for Iran. We are not warmongers. But when the time comes to defend our homeland, every last one of us becomes a soldier. Right now, in less than a week, a powerful national campaign sweeping across the country has brought forward around 7 million Iranians who have already stepped up and declared they're ready to pick up arms and stand in defense of our nation. Let me tell you something straight from the gut. Iranians don't just talk about defending their country. We bleed for it. We've done it before, and we're ready to do it again. You come for our home, you're going to meet the whole family, locked, loaded, and standing tall. Bring it on. Is targeting basic civilian infrastructure not just blatant terrorism and war crimes? Are we the baddies? Yes, we've always been the baddies. That's the irony here. We've been the baddies, but what a lot of people don't understand, and this goes back to my criticism of like neocons or like the way that the Trump administration has weighed the propaganda campaign of the neocons, is that they say, we're not engaging in nation building here, right? We don't want to do regime change wars. We don't want to engage in nation building. The irony is that wasn't the point of the global war on terror either, right? So it's idiotic to make that assessment. That was just marketing. So unless you personally, literally thought that, Donald Rumsfeld had any sort of ambition of creating a stable Iraq and democratizing Iraq by force, unless you truly believed that narrative, you understood that that was just marketing. So the Trump administration and Pete Hegseth and all these other, spokespersons for the Trump administration in this war that we're waging with Iran have decided not to do that marketing, right? But in the absence of that marketing, in the absence of making a convincing argument that they have WMDs, making a convincing argument as to why this unimaginably expensive and bloody endeavor has to be conducted, because there's some sort of like moral goal at the end of this, right? People are just going to realize that you are just a tyrant. You're a bloodthirsty bully. And that's what's really interesting about how the Trump administration is conducting itself. They operate like they genuinely believe that the neocons wanted to liberalize Iraq and didn't simply want their oil or simply want to dominate them, right? My point is, there is a purpose for claiming that you're spreading democracy when you don't really have that ambition. So when you drop that part, and come across as sincere about your goals, about your objectives, as Trump is doing, right? Saying the quiet part out loud. Sure, some people will look at that and go, yeah, that makes sense to me. I like killing Iranians. I think it's cool that we're blowing up their bridges. I think it's cool that we're, doing terrorism, right? I don't care about winning hearts and minds. It's different. I like it, right? But when you say the quiet part out loud, a lot more people are going to hear what you're saying and go, I don't like that. That sounds insane. That sounds like you're doing terrorism. And that's where we're at right now. For many Americans, it was easier to understand that Israel was behaving like a terrorist country because Israel, they thought, was a foreign country. The final piece of that puzzle is for Americans to recognize that we might be the terrorist country as well. Because we are.
7 months and 5 days World War II lasted for 3 years, 8 months, and 25 days. The Korean War lasted for 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days. The Vietnam War lasted for 19 years, 5 months, and 29 days. Iraq went on for 8 years, 8 months, and 28 days. We are in this military operation, so powerful, so brilliant, against one of the most powerful countries for 32 days. And the country has been eviscerated and essentially is really no longer a threat. They were the bully of the Middle East, but they're the bully no longer. This is a true investment in your children and your grandchildren's future. The whole world is watching, and they can't leave the power, strength, and brilliance. They just can't believe what they're seeing. They leave it to your imagination, but they can't believe what they're seeing, the brilliance of the United States military.
Yeah, no, that's what everyone is saying. They're like, how brilliant. How fucking brilliant, dude. Philip Lemoyne says, once again, it's hilarious how the U.S. bombed civilian infrastructure with the obvious goal of pressuring the Iranian leadership into making a deal, but the supporters of the stupidity instantly go into defense mode and twist themselves into a pretzel to argue that it was motivated by military necessity, only for Trump to come out and basically tweet, you better make a deal soon before your country has been turned into a wasteland. I mean, he's saying it. Like, this is Osama bin Laden shit, right? When you can't achieve your military goals by waging regular warfare, you do the Israel method and you go the death and destruction route. You don't even consider what comes after that. You don't consider what you're doing to the international rule-based order, which has favored your dominance in perpetuity, right? Like, this is another part of the process that I think a lot of these guys don't understand. If you wanted to be a warmonger, and if you wanted to be the hegemonic superpower, then liberals are right. You have to sell that. You have to sell that to other people. When you sell, when you say the quiet part out loud and you say, no, this is empire shit. We're villains. And you don't try to massage the narrative. You don't try to tell people why you're doing this, why there's a good reason for why you're blowing up fucking bridges and shit, right? Eventually, there's going to be so much enmity that people actually take up arms. European leadership went through appeasement with Nazi Germany, if we recall, right? There was a period where Europe was like, okay, maybe we'll just give them what they want and they'll stop, right? But it got to a point where it was undeniable that Nazi Germany's expansionist ambitions were going to take over the entirety of the European continent. And that's when they decided, all right, we have to do a coalition of the willing. We have to put an end to this. We have to militarily stop this. Now, of course, in the age of nukes, the calculation is different. But the reality of the matter is, us alongside Israel are the current Nazi Germany country, but this time with nukes. We have to put an end to this. We have to stop. These guys genuinely don't believe that the U.S. benefits from U.S.-led world order, though. The right sees it as constraining and a waste of time and money, even though it benefits them. Same reason why they hate soft power initiatives, even though they objectively make empire more stable and effective. I think the insincere liberal method of justifying American hegemony was the more successful one, and that's why it reigned supreme, even in the hands of reactionary neocons when they were waging the global war on terror. It reigned supreme for a good reason, because it was successful. It convinced a lot of people. Okay? Sure, we could say they're stupid, but at least there was an effort to convince them, right? Now there is no effort to convince them. Now you got Donald Trump basically saying, speaking out of both sides of his mouth, basically saying the quiet part out loud at times, and then at other times he'll try to commit to a real reason for why we're doing all this, right? But I don't think he's capable of convincing people at all. Eventually, when enough people realize that America is the villain in the story, they're going to want to put an end to it. They're going to demand an end to it. Just as in the immediate aftermath of October 7, the pro-Palestinian protest movements were small, they were marginal, they were bullied. There was a lot of pressure People bastardized what they were trying to explain to people. And they said, oh, you guys are pro-Hamas. You want, Jews to die. You're anti-Semitic. And then that protest movement grew and grew and grew. And now people understand that the bad guys in that equation were always Israel. The same thing will eventually happen for America as well. Okay? That's it.
Tonight, every American can look forward to a day when we are finally free from the wickedness of Iranian aggression and the specter of nuclear blackmail. Because
what the heck are you talking about? The rest of the world and what army? This is American entitlement and American exceptionalism. The idea that the rest of the world can't apply diplomatic pressure, trade pressure to the United States of America, that America can be truly independent after the United States of America designed this global system that benefited the United States of America for fucking decades, is idiotic. You're brain dead. The only reason why this hasn't happened thus far is because for the longest time, while we were conducting these wars of choice, following along with these imperial desires, we made a convincing case as to, everyone else also getting a piece of the pie to a certain degree. The European vassals were going to benefit from the system as well, and they did, certainly, right? And we at least tried to appeal to people's sensibilities, try to convince them that it was good that we were the world police. Now we're not even doing that. We're not doing that at all. My point is, people are eventually going to look at America very differently than they have thus far. What happens when all that pressure mounts? What happens when the demands are being made by middle powers in Europe, for example, from the populations to decouple from the United States of America? America's power, America's hegemonic superpower status is kept together by its military might, which has taken a devastating blow, right? In the last 33 days. We can't even dominate a country that we've been able to wage economic warfare against. They control the Strait of Hormuz. But also on top of that, it's propped up by the complex system that we have created around the world that we control. A system that we guarantee with our military, a system that says there will always be free-flowing commerce in these choke points. We control the seas. You will always get your oil. Your energy grid is never going to be threatened. But now the energy grid is threatened. Now, capital has to withdraw from certain areas, or they get blown up because they're in missile striking distance. That puts a dent in the goals of the profit seekers, right? That harms profits. If profit centers are under imminent threat, it creates market instability. And also on top of that, it harms profit margins. And you can't have that. If America can't provide that, if America can't guarantee safety and security for the rest of the world, then why should it be the fucking number one superpower? For the most part, the U.S. also keeps local elites happy. In the poorest countries, the most corruption, U.S.-led economic and security model keeps the elites in place and is beneficial for their short-term financial power, even though they are not to the broader economic development. Trump's just fucking up every bag at once. Exactly. Exactly. The very same attitude shift that took place over the course of the last month with European leaders basically salivating at the prospect of punishing Iran, right? Dominating Iran, taking out this like sovereign state that has been a foreign adversary, a thorn on the side of Western imperialism for 47 years. That attitude changed quite quickly, right? And dramatically. Now they're all terrified. They're delivering their own individual states of the unions. They're saying, oh, we gotta get ready for major economic shocks, major uncertainty in the upcoming days. They're openly defying America as Donald Trump demands full cooperation from NATO allies. NATO allies are saying, no, we're not going to do that. You're out of your fucking mind, right? That same attitude was also demonstrated by the Gulf states, at least some of them. There's a Financial Times report that I read on this from Saudi attitudes that have turned completely against the United States of America. MBS was saying, look, if Israel's going to go in, America might as well go in alongside Israel. Maybe you don't touch their energy infrastructure, because then that means they'll blow up our energy infrastructure. That hurts our stability, right? But, take out their missile systems and it'll be fine. That was the attitude from MBS early on, before this started, right? The hubris, the audacity, the assumption that Israel would have any restraint whatsoever. So stupid. Now the Saudis have recognized that that's not the case, and that Israel actually doesn't even care if the Gulf states diminish, if the Gulf states are destroyed. So now they're desperate for an off-ramp. Now they're demanding the off-ramp. Might be too late.
Because of the actions we have taken, we are on the cusp of ending Iran's sinister threat to America and the world. And I'll tell you, the world is watching. And when we do, when it's all over, the United States will be safer, stronger, more prosperous, and greater than it has ever been before. May God bless the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, and good night.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
با توکل بر خداوند متعال این جنگ تا خاری ذلت و پشیمانی دائمی قطعی و تسلیم شما.
I thought they wanted the war to continue, though, as in the Saudis. No, the United Arab Emirates claims that they want the war to continue. The Saudis are not on board with the continuation of the war. They're the most exposed in this situation. But the reason why I brought up the Saudi change of attitude is because that change of attitude relied on American military dominance, a belief that America could destroy Iran, destroy Iranian launcher capabilities, destroy the missile silos, diminish Iranian response. It's obvious that they failed to do that, right?
ادامه خواهد داشت. در تداوم
In
ضربات
continuation
و
of the
سیریهای
heavy and
محکم و
severe
غیر
blows you
قابل
have
تصوری
received
که
so
تاکنون
far,
خورده اید منتظر اقدامات
expect even
کوبنده‌تر
stronger,
و
await more
سیرتر
crushing,
و
broader, and more
ویرانگر ما
destructive
باشید. مراکزی که به
actions. The
تصورتان هدف
facilities you
قرار
have
داده
targeted
اید
so far are insignificant and are strategic. Wait, hold on. What did you say? The reporting seems conflicted. I've seen a lot of pieces that say the Saudis want this to keep going because of basically sunk costs, but others are saying they want an off-ramp. I think they want an off-ramp. I think the UAE is the only Gulf country that's is openly claiming that they want this to continue. Are insignificant and are strategic. Military production takes place in locations of which you have absolutely no knowledge and which you will never be able to reach.
So I don't think this is the end of the American security order. It's the beginning of the end, but it will end. It seems to me increasingly implausible that the United States can or can be trusted to uphold security in the region. And I think after this war, when it became clear that US bases do not provide security, they actually become a source of insecurity for the GCC states. It was always clear the American security umbrella extended over to the Middle East was not going to last forever. And it was going to end at some point. And it's better for the region to take responsibility for its security in its own hand, shoulder it itself, rather than relying on powers that are overextended and increasingly unreliable.
I don't think anything is really in Donald Trump's control. The speech was a lot of bravado. The speech was a lot of delusion, in my view. And during the speech, the price of oil rose $5 a barrel just in the 25 minutes of the speech, meaning the markets did not find any of it very credible. So I think we have to do what we normally have to do with Trump, which is filter these remarks. Well, I think basically we have a speech with no credibility by a president with no credibility. And I have to stress, we will see in the next 4 or 5 weeks an outcome one way or another that will absolutely reshape the world. If the U.S. is right that it has destroyed Iran, the reshaping will be very small. The U.S. will say, we're the big boss, we're the bully, we now own Iranian oil, we can do what we want. I think this is very unlikely as the truth. If the other situation turns out to be right, that Iran has a lot of fighting power, it's not been defeated in 6 or 8 weeks of aerial bombing, it's got missiles galore, and it can do grave damage to its neighbors who have sided with the United States, the situation from a geopolitical point of view will be entirely different. And this is why these next few weeks really are an incredible drama. It's a tragedy that the drama is playing out this way. It's a test of how thuggish and violent the United States can be, but it is going to play out one way or another.
Right when the president came out, he said that one thing he wanted to do was lay out why it's necessary for safety and security of Americans that this is happening. Do you think he made that case?
I thought he started with the necessity. We talked about you need necessity, the objective, then what's the plan. I thought the necessity, laying out the bill of particulars on Iran, was fairly effective, not entirely accurate, as you just pointed out. I think it's important to remind people of what Iran is about. It is a real threat. There are reasons to be doing what we're doing.
Oh my God, it's so funny. Once again, remember, okay, this is Brett McGurk. Okay? Brett McGurk was the architect of the Biden-Israel saga. One of the top genocidaires. Okay? Brett McGurk also happens to commend Donald Trump's Iran quagmire. He demanded it. He said it would be good. He celebrated the 12-day war. Now, I don't know if he'll continue to celebrate it. I don't know what he's going to say here, but the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because I need you to understand this is exactly what he wanted. You'll see and hear from a lot of people that have spent their entire careers operating as mouthpieces for the Israeli state, communicating the Israeli state's desires to do exactly this, what we're doing right now, turn around and act as though there was a process, a procedural failure, or a tactical failure, because now that they got their wishes, they realize that they're biting off a lot more than they can chew. So anyone that is not popping champagne at this very moment, after spending the last decade, multiple decades, demanding this exact same thing happen, demanding that we blow up Iran, claiming that it will be so easy, is just fucking lying. So let's hear what Brett McGurk had to say. The reason why it's important to understand, the role that Brett McGurk played is so that you understand American foreign policy and our interest in leaning into Israel and our interest in letting Israel lead our MENA policy is a uniparty principle, okay? This is what I mean when I say America and, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are very much aligned on key issues. Brett McGurk is a great example of this.
I thought when he laid out the objectives and the plan, I don't think we heard too much. And my takeaway was that we might be in for an escalation of this war. I mean, he said if there's not a deal, he put back on the table.
He didn't talk about a deal very much.
Well, he said if there's not a deal, the energy targets, everything else he'd been talking about. So if we thought we might hear a de-escalatory speech that we're going to wrap this up in a couple weeks, actually heard something quite different. And he said he visits the families at Dover, and he said we must honor them by completing the mission. And then he basically threatened Iran that we're going to prepare to send you back to the Stone Age. So I think this war is going to continue for some time. I mean, that's what I heard.
I thought it was striking that while he had a chance to speak to the Iranian leadership, the replaced Iranian leadership, he did not make an offer or any discussion of what the U.S.-Iran relationship could look like. I mean, these are two countries that have every reason that they could be natural allies. Historically, at various moments, long time ago, they were. But there was only threat to the Iranian leadership. There was no incentive. I thought the second really interesting thing was that the president basically dismissed the operations to go get the nuclear material. You may remember that when this war started, that was supposed to be the #1 objective. Keep Iran from making a bomb. And that means taking away the near bomb grade material. This time he said it would take months for them to get near the nuclear dust.
I mean, just last Monday, a little over a week ago, I asked the president about getting that enriched uranium, and he said that it would be very easy for the United States to go in and get it. The other thing here is the Strait of Hormuz. The president seemed to back up and confirm reporting there that he's not interested in the United States having control of it or having that settled if the United States does end this war.
Well, and that's inconsistent. I mean, one thing he complained about the Obama administration and sanctions relief and everything, but if Iran comes out of this controlling the Strait of Hormuz and being able to meet...
Which you must have fucking hated, huh? Considering that you had no ambitions of reinstating that when Biden was president.
Ships that go through there and taking a cut of every ship, they're going to make hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. So that, if that is the outcome here strategically, that is not good if our objective is to contain Iran. Yeah, he called on our allies to come in and help in the strait, and we might be willing to help. But I heard him.
Once again, what's really stupid about this conversation, right, is that the problem that people should have with this is the point that Donald Trump is trying to get across, which is strategically containing Iran. Like, why are we doing that? For 47 years, we did not strategically contain Iran. We did actually wage a lot of economic warfare with Iran, and you know, that was still devastating for Iranian development. They were able to struggle through it regardless. But like, the argument that liberals present here is, well, the goals make sense. You know, I'm glad that the Ayatollah is dead. I'm glad that we did this decapitation strike. The problem is we're just not achieving our war goals. No, man. The problem is we did that to begin with. Okay? You can't make a convincing counter narrative. You cannot actually convincingly counter message against the Trump administration if the only criticism that you have is that they're just not doing the right things. Like, oh, their goals are ambitious, and I agree with them, but they're just not able to accomplish said goals. That's not a real counter narrative. That's not a real counter argument, right? You're just taking advantage of the fact that you're no longer in power, so you can just like criticize. It's the same shit that Trump did with the Afghan withdrawal, right? Something that he designed that he never actually had the courage to pull through on, to pull the trigger on, and then because he wasn't president at the time, because he didn't oversee the Afghan withdrawal, which was always going to be messy regardless, right? He was able to say, oh, yeah, he just, I think he didn't do a good job. He did a bad job. Remember our 13 brave soldiers that died, you know, in the Afghan withdrawal? Remember the 13 or was it 7? I can't remember the exact number. Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz was free for navigation for the past 50 years. We're acting like it was always been closed. Yeah, we made him close it. They didn't close it the last couple of times we fucking bombed them. They didn't close it for the 50 years that we actively sought to destroy the Iranian economy. They closed it because we forced them to take action. 7 was Benghazi. We're not talking about Benghazi. We're talking about the Afghan withdrawal. I think it was like 13 soldiers that died or something, our best soldiers. Meanwhile, when Donald Trump was president in Afghanistan, 67 American soldiers died. But hey, you know, it's neither here nor there. It's just, you know, they had to go. It's fucking so stupid.
say we kind of would lead that mission from behind, hoping that our allies might step up, which I'm not sure they're going to do. Look, it's a difficult mission. He said it's easy. It's not. You got to have assets that can, Caitlin, shoot down anti-ship missiles and drones. It's hard. We did this in the Red Sea with a small coalition. It's a very difficult military mission and strategic equation. And the way we're talking about our allies every day, I don't see the allies really signing up to take on this mission. They should. I mean, they should. It is in their interest to do it. We should stay on them. But I think the Strait of Hormuz remains a very unresolved issue here. I didn't really hear an answer.
Well, I mean, if what Brett's hearing is that there's a potential escalation here. The president talked to Americans about rising gas prices, but he said that they would come down after the war is over. I mean, if the war is going on for 2 to 3 more weeks, maybe longer than that, do you think that that was sufficient?
Well, they're going to start to come down. I think he's right to recognize it. He's trying to show the American public that he hears their anxiety about it. And I do think gas prices are going to be one of the drivers of public opinion on the war. I think Brett's right about what he said about the allies, though. He called on our allies to come in and take over the Strait and deal with the Strait. Now, he's mostly talking about Japan and Korea. Both of them get about half their oil and gas through the Strait of Hormuz.
The fuck is Japan and Korea going to do, bro? If America can't open the Strait of Hormuz, how the fuck is Japan and Korea going to open the Strait of Hormuz? Are you out of your damn mind? These are two countries that we occupy militarily. Okay? Post-World War II, post-Korea War, we literally occupy these countries. We got like 80,000 troops in Korea. Japan's constitution, which we wrote, dictates that they can never have a standing army. You got an easier go opening up the Strait of Hormuz by dealing with the DPRK, North Korea, before you get South Korea to open it. How the fuck are they going to open it? They have such little control over their own destiny that America was able to literally first send THAAD missiles to South Korea, right, in 2016, which was a spectacular problem for South Korea. China got really mad about that, lost billions of dollars in trade from China in the process. And then America literally was like, hey, we're taking these THAAD missiles back. We have to send them to Israel. Sorry. And South Korea was like, we can't do anything about it because we're fucking South Korea. We have no autonomy. We have no control over our own lives. We have no control over our own destiny. And now you're over here being like, oh yeah, South Korea and Japan, two countries that we have basically militarily occupied for fucking decades, are going to be able to go and like open the Strait of Hormuz when we can't do it. It's so insane. U.S. still has wartime operational control in Korea. This is meaningless. Exactly. It's so stupid. It's such a stupid argument. But of course, it's the dumbass Republican that's like saying that. Meanwhile, it seems that another American plane has been shot down. As I showed you earlier, we don't know. The drop site has not independently verified the claim. Also, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has asked the Army Chief of Staff General Randy George to step down and take immediate retirement. Sources familiar with the decision told CBS News. Uh-oh. Not good. Hegseth has asked the Chief of Staff to the Army Chief to step down. Randy George previously served as a senior military assistant to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin during the Biden admin. One of the sources said Secretary of War wants someone in the role who will implement Trump and Hegseth's vision for the Army. The Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, General Christopher Leneve, who was formerly Hegseth's military aide, will likely be considered a replacement. This is unrelated to the helicopter flyby at Kid Rock's home, I'm told. Okay, so it's definitely related to the fucking flyby. It's probably not even the war objectives. I initially thought it was that, but I suspect this guy was like, no, we have to punish the fucking guy who did a flyby. That's like ridiculous. Like we're the goddamn American military. We can't be just like doing stupid shit like that. And then P. Hegseth, it was like, nah, that's against our goals, sir. Kid Rock actually really enjoyed that flyby. I know it sounds stupid, but I need you to understand we are a stupid country. We are led by stupids. We are that stupid. So yes, this decision could have been made for perhaps the stupidest reason. What is this? Our military installations have been turned into gun-free zones, leaving our service members vulnerable and exposed. That ends today. Troops can now request to carry their own personal firearms on base for personal protection without having to explain why they need to protect themselves on base. Oh my God. Oh, that's awesome. I'm not going to say anything because these are the moments where I say something like sarcastically and then they get clipped out of context. I'm just not going to say anything Yeah, good luck to the American military. Wow, that seems like a cool thing. Deciding to play on New Game Plus difficulty, I see. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Cool. That's cool. Yeah, no, I can't think of I can't think of a better place to just like have a bunch of guys armed to the fucking gills, dude.
Our great republic was founded on a simple yet bold idea. Our rights as citizens are not granted to us by government, but instead by God. 250 years ago, the Revolutionary War was fought to secure our God-given rights. The Second Amendment to our Constitution enshrines the right of all citizens to carry weapons to protect themselves.
See, this is one of those things, right, that Pete Hegseth is too stupid to recognize was a rule for perhaps a good reason. Okay? Anyone who has ever spent any time as military police will be the first to tell you that this is a major mistake. Okay? Our boys get rowdy. They already have a lot of issues with rapes and murders on these bases without people running around with weapons. Okay? They have unconventional ways of getting those goals across. Okay? So if you just give them all guns, I feel like it's going to be a very different dynamic. It's very interesting that these dumbasses legitimately think like, oh, it was the libtard pussies that made it so that, you know, our brave boys don't have their fucking personal firearms at their hip on these military bases, and not because you don't want those guys to have access to their personal weapons outside of moments where they are you know, tasked with using them.
Their families,
what do you say?
And their fellow countrymen. The War Department's uniformed service members are trained at the highest and unwavering standards. These warfighters, entrusted with the safety of our nation, are no less entitled to exercise their God-given right to keep and bear arms than any other American. Our warfighters defend the right of others to carry. They should be able to carry themselves. Recent events like what happened at Fort Stewart, Holloman Air Force Base, or Pensacola Naval Air Station have made clear that some threats are closer to home than we would like. In these instances, minutes are a lifetime, and our service members have the courage and training to make those precious short minutes count. Before today, it was virtually impossible. Most people probably don't know this. It was virtually impossible for War Department personnel to get permission to carry and store their own personal weapons aligned with the state laws where we operate our installations. I mean, effectively, our bases across the country were gun-free zones. Unless you're training or unless you are a military police.
I wonder if there was a good reason for that. Because, like, when I think of like American military bases having such a rule, my assumption is there's probably a good reason for that, you know? Given a bunch of 18-year-olds that are, you know, going through some crazy emotions and constantly getting yelled at, constantly bullying one another, an unlimited amount of access to weapons kind of doesn't feel like the right thing to do. Yeah, okay, cool.
You couldn't bring your own firearm for your own personal protection onto post. Well, that's no longer.
Yeah, for what reason? Like, there's got to be a reason, right, Pete? You didn't think about that? You didn't think that there was a reason for that? In your mind, you thought it's because our generals were pussies? Is that what you thought was going on? They're libtards. They want to do gun control because it's woke and gay. That's cool. Okay.
The memo I'm signing today directs installation commanders to allow requests for personal protection to carry a privately owned firearm, with the presumption that it is necessary for personal protection.
On a military base, brother, who are you protecting yourself against other than your fucking drill sergeant? Like, how is he not understanding the words that are coming out of his mouth? Like what this implies. Protection from who? You're on a fucking military base, you idiot. Protection from who? I guess they do legitimately believe that like an armed society is a polite society. I guess they do actually feel like you need to constantly be armed, because I mean, I always thought, it's a lie. Like, Republicans do understand that obviously you have to have gun-free zones, because like more guns does not automatically translate to more safety. And part of the reason why I said that, and part of the reason why I believe that, it was because the NRA convention is a gun-free zone, right? Trump rallies are gun-free zones. It's not like Donald Trump is doing rallies where everyone can bring fucking weapons, right? So clearly, they kind of understand that you have to have areas where there's no guns, because more guns means less safety. More guns means accidents. More guns means someone could potentially use that gun, right? This was one of those areas where I assumed, people kind of understood that this is a reasonable request. Nope. Turns out Pete Hegseth actually does believe it. He legitimately thinks having ease of access to a weapon actually makes you a safer person, makes these bases safer. Cool.
Request is for some reason denied. The reason for that denial will be in writing and will explain in detail the basis for that direction. Again, the presumption is service members will be able to have.
I feel like this is at first going to increase the amount of rapes happening, and then it's going to end up decreasing it, if you know what I mean.
Their Second Amendment right on post. Not all enemies are foreign, nor are they all outside our borders. Some are.
What are you saying? Not all enemies. Dude, it's a military base. You're saying the enemy is within. You're saying that the enemy is other guys at the base. What the fuck? What a strange thing to say.
Domestic. Confirming your God-given right to self-protection is what I'm signing into action today, and I'm proud to do so.
I just don't think I don't think any commanding officer is gonna allow this to happen. I just don't think so. It would be really funny. It would be very funny to see how this plays out. I just don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, the real enemy is amongst our ranks, is next to us. Russia sends another oil tanker to Cuba and Trump will say nothing. Putin continuously plays in Trump's face. If you can't see something stinks there at this point, it's because you don't want to. Okay. I don't think this is a bad thing at all. I think this is a good thing. I don't know why Tennessee Holler is criticizing this. Anyway, let's get back to CNN.
But he's also talking about Europe. And I think the heads of state of our NATO allies need to have heard this message pretty loud and clear. We've maintained bases in their countries. We've fueled their economies. We've protected them from Russia for 75 years. And they wouldn't let us use our own bases in their country to engage in our national security here. And I think that, I'm a big supporter of NATO. Most Republican senators I talk to are as well. But I think there's a real schism here. And I think if our allies they need to hear the president tonight. And it's time to get on the horse and ride.
Well, I should know, the president saying that he could withdraw from NATO. It was his Secretary of State who did co-sponsor a bill saying the president can't unilaterally do so. He needs Congress to help him. Karen, overall, not just on NATO, what do you think Americans heard in that speech 1 month in?
Look, if you are concerned about your own pocketbooks, and let's be honest, that's what most Americans were probably listening for. They're listening for, how's this going to affect my life, my economy? You weren't reassured. As Brett pointed out, if we're talking about an escalation, he's talking about 2 to 3 more weeks. Then we're looking at, and he said this was going to be over in 4 weeks. Then we're talking 7 to 8 weeks. And the kind of escalation he was talking about doesn't sound like it's just going to be 2 to 3 more weeks. We're sort of joking about this. Everything's 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. So that's a concern. And even in his conversation about the economy, he said, oh, it was so great a month ago. No, it wasn't. People were, I mean, his numbers on the economy have been going down steadily for quite some time. So I don't think people heard anything to make them feel reassured about why did we have to do this right now. I know he said, tried to make this imminent argument, but again, the fact checkers will, I think, correct that. And he did not make a case he didn't call people to action, to be a part of this. He really tried to, and I don't think people are going to believe that.
Wait, they fired Kash Patel already? They already did? Ain't no way. No, I thought they were entertaining it. What the fuck?
He says it should be over.
Did they? I can't tell. I can't tell if you guys are fucking with me or not. God, if only Twitter timeline wasn't so busted. Okay. Mr. President, I know you might think I'm not cut out to be the Attorney General, but I do have experience in podcasting. And it kind of feels like you want a podcaster to be the FBI director. And I'm willing to step up. I'm willing to do it. I love my current job, but Mr. President, sir, I can do it. I'm willing to step up. Make me the FBI director, please. I'm ready.
The sun's going to go back to normal. I don't think people buy that.
In terms of a deal being reached, the president has been pretty optimistic about it this week in conversations with reporters. Tonight, though, he didn't announce a breakthrough. He kind of barely addressed the diplomatic talks that are underway. And as Brett McGurk was noting, he threatened to blast Iran back to the Stone Ages should this not work out. How do you think that comes across to the Iranian officials that were listening?
Well, look, I mean, I spoke to Iranian officials earlier on today, and they said they didn't put much stead in the public remarks of President Trump because they don't reliably reflect what actually happens. And they went on to say this reflects a trait of him that he is eccentric and unpredictable, which of course we all know. But I mean, there's been a physical response.
Yeah, he didn't get fired. The sources, Alex Jones talking to a former FBI podcaster. Okay, to be fair, this is the podcaster government. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't think it's happening. Or at least I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen, because like I said, he's Mr. Off-Ramp. He's Mr. Pressure Valve. Okay? And obviously it wasn't just Pam Bondi that a lot of people are frustrated with. They were frustrated with Kash Patel as well. So I don't know.
As well to this speech in the region, with alarms going off and missiles and drones being launched by Iran across the region, particularly at the United Arab Emirates within the past few minutes. We've had those reports coming in of attacks from Iran again against those surrounding Gulf Arab states that have been so terribly battered in the course of the past month or so since this Iran war began. These are energy-rich countries that depend almost entirely on energy exports for their survival, and they've seen those revenues because of the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz and because of the attacks on the energy infrastructure absolutely sort of devastated, dropping from billions of dollars a day in some cases to close to zero. And so we're looking at an existential economic crisis.
Is Hasan going on a job interview? Yes. That's why I'm wearing a suit, because I have a job interview. There's going to be potentially a job opening as the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. And I wanted to look dapper and spiffy. As a podcaster myself, I feel like they're looking for a new FBI director who will also be a podcaster, right? Like, kind of feels like they want, kind of feels like they thought, this is the best possible FBI director we could have had. Parasocial take, trim the beard to look sharp. No.
This region. And there was very little in terms of reassurance in that speech by President Trump. He talked about potentially escalating the conflict, at least continuing it. Certainly, there was no word on when this conflict would come to a conclusion. And in so much as he did address that, I think we're all left with the impression that at the end of this conflict, we could see an Iran which is strengthened strategically, that will keep the Strait of Hormuz under its control, and possibly even have the capability to have ballistic missiles and even a nuclear program at the end of this war. And so that's very alarming for the countries in this region.
President Trump has downplayed the United States' reliance on the
Extremely funny to get this so painfully wrong when your whole thing is pretending to be an economist on Substack. I know everyone's freaking out about Trump bombing Iran, but I wouldn't worry too much about the economic ramifications, at least. Nice. If you aren't blocked by Noah Smith, please don't let him get away with pretending that he opposed this war. Yeah, lol, no, bomb the IRGC bases. Yeah, no, definitely causing a foreign adversary to like shut down a strategic choke point where 20% of the entire world's energy needs flows through is not going to have devastating impacts on markets. Okay, certainly. I'm an economist. What do you think is preventing Iran from fully taking out GCC oil? What do you mean? They just that's their last card. That's the last card that they can play. They're not going to play it yet. What's really interesting about this is some people are beginning to recognize that we're the villains here. Joe Rogan and Theo Von had a conversation. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
What do you think is going to happen? You think we're going to be okay?
I hope so. Of course. I don't know.
Do you think about it?
I'm confused. I can't believe we went to this war. When we started bombing Iran, I was like, this can't be true.
And what about Lebanon now?
I know. Israel's invaded Lebanon. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, just fucking stop. Like, what do you need?
Well, they're trying to, supposedly, they're trying to stop the terrorists.
Yeah, that's crazy, though, if you're the fucking terrorist. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to stop them, fucking stand in front of the fucking mirror and start there. What do you think is going to happen? You think we're going to be okay?
I hope so. Of course.
I mean, what do you say? What can you even fucking say to that? Oh, damn. It's all good. It's illegal. That's crazy. Thank you. Marsh got me Zins. What time are we supposed to leave? Have you eaten yet? Oh, you did? Can you put your room in the Postmates? I can't do it. I wasn't able to do it. Anyway, I'll figure it out.
It's a cat.
Okay.
It's all just a cat and mouse game. People are like, we'll elect the Democrats next time. It's like, but it's all the same shit has been happening forever. They haven't been helping anybody forever. They're letting fucking politicians slurp on kids. All of our fucking money goes to Israel and they're using it to fucking genocide people. It's like everybody is scared out of their wits right now. It's like our religious leaders are afraid to speak out. And it's like it's a time where it's like Satan is amongst us and our religious leaders are fucking talking about bullshit at the poll. It's just like, what is going, I don't know, man.
We got to get you off those antidepressants, son. You're losing your fucking marbles.
You think I am?
Come hang out with us. Just.
Oh my God, Joe Rogan. He's right. Like, he's not even wrong. He's right. Joe Rogan, the fuck's wrong with you? He's literally correct. Like, everything that he addressed is unironically true. It's like the only time where someone is making sense on the Joe Rogan Experience. And Joe Rogan's response is, oh, bro, you're just like kind of bumming me out, dude. You're bumming yourself out. Here, do some drugs. Come hang out with us. We'll fix you up real quick. Don't think about it, bro. You're bumming my high right now. You're just ruining my high, bro. Fuck. Oh, my God. Yeah, Joe Rogan be like, let me give you some raw milk. Fix you up real good. Yeah. Theo Von 2026. It's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. That's right. I got to go on Theo Von again, dude. That's what I got to do. Some more from this convo?
Yeah.
How come you get paid?
I'm just sick of this shit. And I'm sick of rich people not putting their fucking kids over in these wars and shit like that. Put your
All right, we'll get back to that in a little bit.
The Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important waterways. Now, Iran's near closure of it in the past month has led to the largest global energy market disruptions in decades. Now, President Trump says the U.S. imports almost no oil from here and won't be taking any in the future. It's true, crude imports into the U.S. have fallen drastically over the years, but it still relies on the Strait of Hormuz for a fraction of its imports. Now, government data shows in 2024, it brought in 500,000 barrels per day. That's 7% of its total crude oil imports and 2% of its petroleum product imports. The way President Trump also sees it, the U.S. is the world's largest producer of oil and gas, and it's insulated with what's happening thousands of kilometers away. And yet, people are paying more at the pumps because gas prices are more than $1 a liter, the highest since 2022. Now, the U.S. and Israel's war on Iran has also left the rest of the world feeling the pain of supply disruptions and rising.
I think you should go on Tucker. I think you can move him left. First of all, that's never going to happen. He's not going to move left. Don't be ridiculous. And secondly, Tucker Carlson will not have me on. I don't know why. I have my suspicions, but anyway, let's continue.
Prices. Hours into President Trump's speech, we've had oil prices jump and we've had Asian stocks slump. Now, the UK and dozens of countries have held talks on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Remember, much of the oil and gas produced in the region is headed to Asia, but some part of it also up from the Suez Canal into Europe. About 2,000 ships are stranded because of Iran's partial blockade in retaliation to US and Israeli strikes. Now, before the conflict, tankers carried 20 million barrels of oil, or 20% of global energy consumption, pass through this strait every single day. But in the past month, very few ships have made this passage in coordination with Tehran.
A huge fireball blazes across the night skies over Isfahan after a US strike on a military base there. The city in the center of the country, home to one of its 3 key nuclear sites too. President Trump promised to hit even harder these next few weeks, and he's following through. Here, the Pasteur Institute, a prestigious research and public health center in Tehran, blown to smithereens.
Yeah, this was disgusting. I mean, there is no like military goal here. You're just trying to destroy civil life. You're trying to destroy civil society. It's the Israel method. Right? That's all this is. What can you even fucking say? What is the equivalent here? Hitting MIT? It's like no, it's not even hitting MIT. It's like hitting a building where they're not only doing, I think they're also doing the production there too, right? If I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, they're just bombing they're bombing academic institutions where like people are developing medicines. Yeah, it'd be like hitting Johns Hopkins University. And you have to remember, like, Iran has had to develop medicine internally because of the sanctions, not dissimilar to Cuba. Like, not only have we shut off to the best of our ability through these sanctions, Iran being able to get medicine, get pharmaceutical products from other countries, we've disrupted that process. We're now destroying their indigenous facilities for developing the medicine on their own. It's just pure terrorism. I don't know how else to describe it. That's what it is.
During this attack, we can say that almost all departments were damaged. The malaria unit, the cell bank, clinical research, biotechnology, and support sections like IT, engineering, administration, and office buildings. All of these have been completely affected, and rebuilding them will take years. Most importantly, the historic building that was constructed with international support 104 years ago, older than many scientific institutions in the world, has been completely damaged, and that the original Pasteur Institute no longer exists.
The tallest bridge in the Middle East, which connects the capital with the western city of Karaj, folding in on itself after an airstrike, with the US president promising on Truth Social that much more would follow unless Iran made a deal fast. Further bombast after his address to the nation on Wednesday night.
We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
Iran's hardline leadership, those who are left, have responded just as their predecessors did, with unending defiance.
The centers you believe you have targeted are insignificant, and our strategic military production takes place in locations you are completely unaware of and will never be able to reach.
Iran's parliamentary speaker, thought to be the US administration's current interlocutor in Iran, not mincing his words on X. Iranians don't just talk about defending their country, he wrote. We bleed for it. We've done it before, and we're ready to do it again. You come for our home, you're going to meet the whole family, locked, loaded, and standing tall. Bring it on. Messages of mockery from the Revolutionary Guard attached to their next volley of missiles sent out to the region and to the international media. And similar...
Yeah, Israelis are getting ready to discard the pro-Israel Iranian opposition, much of which will inevitably object to a plan for deindustrializing the country via aerial bombardment, but that doesn't matter because that was always the fucking goal. This is a lesson that the United Arab Emirates couldn't learn for some reason. This is a lesson that America can't even fucking learn, right? There is no allegiance with Israel. They'll just use you. They'll use you and abuse you. You're not going to have leverage in the aftermath of whatever deal you make with Israel. The United Arab Emirates, for the last decade, has been the champion of the Abraham Accords, okay? Has leaned into being openly aligned with Israel, has played a formative role in achieving Israel's objectives. They were participants in the Gaza genocide, right? And what did that get them? They became the missile sponge for Iranian ballistic munitions, as you know, the final stage of this battle is taking place. It's not like Israel's defending them. As a matter of fact, all of the defensive weapons that are going to Israel could have been used on the United Arab Emirates, but it's not being used there, right? Same with all the people who are saying, I'm Persian, Mr. President Trump, please keep bombing Tehran. I will eat kubide. I love Israel. It's unbelievable these guys, through a sophisticated influence peddling operation with like Iranian International, right, which was backed by the Gulf states themselves, genuinely believed in this idea that American Israel would be a liberatory force, like that they had any interest in liberating the Iranian people. Like, it's so fucking stupid. Many of those people, as I told you, that were initially dancing and initially demanding that America and Israel bomb Iran would soon learn that hard lesson. That Israel's goals were never to liberate Iran. Israel's goals were always to destroy Iran. And they very quickly revealed that. I mean, it was like, what, day 3 when Israel blew up the oil refineries near Tehran, engaging in chemical warfare. And then there were still some who thought, no, this has to happen. This has to happen. You're out of your fucking mind if you think Israel has any interest. Here's the thing that many Iranians in diaspora don't understand. They were useful to the U.S. and Israel as long as they needed a humanitarian fig leaf to launch a war of imperial conquest and destruction. Once that war was launched, no one really gives a shit what Iranians think. And I'll tell you another thing. Remember another thing that I explained to people that would come in here and yell at me? Hasan, you don't understand. I am Iranian and we want this, right? What did I tell them? That you're not fucking white. and your whiteness status is going to be revoked the moment that there is any conversation about Iranians coming into the country. Now the Canadian government is entertaining blocking Iranian refugees from entering Canada. You got, Pierre Poilievre and all these other people saying, like, why the fuck are we letting these terrorists into the country? Hold on now. And all of the Iranian diasporoids that were fucking begging for this war to happen are now in the replies of those people that they were aligned with going, what do you mean? What do you mean? These are our family members. What are you saying? They are not a terrorist. What happened? You thought they were going to treat you like an equal partner? You thought that they were going to not shut off your family members from escaping Iran and coming to Canada? You thought that they were going to be on board with a fucking flow of migration from Iran? Are you out of your mind? Are you stupid? The only country that gets that amenity is Israel, and you are not Israeli, okay? That's it. And I told you that this was going to happen, and it's already happening. And it's not like these administrations in the West have hit, like they haven't hidden this ambition, right?